Get ready to be inspired by the great things happening in rural education. The Rural Scoop will bring you new ideas and innovative solutions. We'll dive into education issues and will highlight what's working in your rural communities. You will hear from a variety of educators, administrators, professionals, and others who will provide relevant and engaging content in each episode. And now, serving up the scoop, here's your host, Dr. Melissa Sadorf.
Well, welcome back, Rural Scoop listeners. I'm really excited because we have just come off of the Arizona Rural School Association's annual conference, where we had our top 10 finalists for Teacher of the Year for 2023. And so Ty and I have an opportunity to talk to this year's top 10. And I'm really excited about today's guest because I know that she has some really great stories that she's going to be able to share from her rural community here in Arizona. As you know, the Arizona Rural Schools Association does select a Teacher of the Year for the association. And Jeremy, who is the teacher that we're going to be talking to today, was one of those top 10 finalists. So I'm really excited to be able to learn more about her community and her background. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I have a chance to introduce my co-host, Ty White. Ty is a chemistry teacher out of Wilcox, and he's done a lot of other really cool things besides being a chemistry teacher. So Ty, say hello and introduce yourself.
Welcome, everybody. Glad to join you again. I hope you're joining us again, like I say, or else we might have some new first-time listeners, because I know Aguila is going to join us and support celebrating this teacher. I know that they're very proud of all the teachers they send up to ARSA for the yearly conference. Like Melissa said, I teach in Wilcox, Arizona, a small rural town in the southeast corner. I teach chemistry. This year I'll be teaching math. And it's been a wonderful few years for me. I'm really privileged to get to join Melissa. And with that, I'm going to hand it off and introduce our top 10 finalists. Jeremy, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I am Jeremy Cabribas Gallardo, and I've been in the academe scene since 2005. So my 18 years of experience as an educator are filled with wonderful memories of growth and learning. So I am still learning. I just finished my master's degree in English. And now I am, after a few months of graduating from my master's degree, I am again studying my PhD in English as well. So I am very much in love with language and culture. So that's my major. English is my major. So my thesis in my master's degree is about how how children with different languages are affecting the way they read and understand what they read. And so for my PhD dissertation, I'm also learning how language is different when it comes to cultural competence. So that's my major focus of my dissertation. So I am Jeremy, and I'm enjoying life as a teacher.
Very nice. That's exciting stuff. You need to be the next J.R. Tolkien and write us a literary masterpiece. So, Jeremy, when did you realize you wanted to be a teacher? How would you describe that process of becoming a teacher?
So, backstory, I studied in a public school from since I was preschool until I was in 6th grade. So after 6th grade, when I was about to do middle school, I was given an academic scholarship for my high school in an exclusive private school in the Philippines. So in a Montessori school, and it's a brand new experience. And transferring from a public school to an exclusive private school was really difficult. But I had that teacher. I had an English teacher, because if children that in the Philippines, if you came from a public school, there's a very big language barrier. So if you're studying in an exclusive private school, children there speak their English language very fluently. So, but then I had that English teacher that would tell me, no, it's okay. As long as you're pushing through the barriers of learning, as long as you work hard, then you can keep your scholarship for 5 years. I was a scholar in high school for 5 years, from 7th grade to 11th grade. And I was so inspired by that English teacher. And I was like, I want to make that same difference. But I was thinking to myself, I'd be a journalist. I'd write and make a difference. But then my grandmother taught me that, you know what? The best group of people that would be having the greatest influence on others, especially children, are actually teachers. And if you're a teacher, you can also write and be a journalist. And I was like, So I did my English major degree. I majored in English, and I'm trying to make a difference through writing for my co-teachers and for children as well. So that's here I am after how many years. I'm still teaching. So
Jeremy, you indicated that you're from the Philippines. Manila in particular is where you grew up. So big city, very different from where you ended up here in Arizona in Aguila.
Yes.
And that rural school community is something that might have been a bit of an adjustment. Maybe you had to figure out how to navigate rural when you got over here to take the position that you're in with the Aguila School District. Why did you decide to teach in a rural setting? What's good about being rural?
I believe that in a rural setting, it's more family. It feels like family. It feels like home. So there's a sense of community. So if you're in a big city school, I feel like there's still a family, but it's more connected when you're in a rural school. Like the different like the firefighters, and then the sheriff's office, we all work together. There are activities that we do together as a team. So we reach out to them. And there was one activity that I was doing with my students in science and engineering. And the students were supposed to create a robot that will help the firefighters do search and rescue operations. And it's part of their curriculum. And I asked Dr. Wanamaker, our superintendent, if I can ask a real firefighter to talk to the children. And they actually came out to my classroom. So that sense of community, really how the children are really supported, and that it takes a community to raise up a child, a whole group of people, different education from the police department, from the fire station, from the medical fields. We all work together to provide the children the maximum kind of education that they need. So I like that about a rural school.
So is it fair to say that you taught in Manila before you came to Aguila?
Yes. So I've been teaching in the Philippines since 2005. So about 14 years, 13 to 14 years before I came to the Philippines, to the U.S. Yes, to Aguila. Yes.
So then you've been in Aguila for about 4 years.
Yes, about almost 5 years. So I came here 2019.
Well, teaching in a rural setting has some unique challenges and also some unique opportunities. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered as a rural teacher, and how have you overcome those challenges?
I think one challenge that I've encountered would be providing adequate teaching materials, especially manipulatives, to the children. So, but I am grateful because as I've mentioned, you have the help and the support that any teacher can think of in a rural school, and I'm grateful. And so I am a STEM fellow, also from Arizona State University, from ASU. And that fellowship has given me a chance to acquire materials for my students. And the school, actually, one of my project is to come up with a STEAM room. So I included arts, and I asked Dr. Wanamaker if I can borrow one of the rooms so I can have my own maker space. And I was provided with that. So I am grateful that in spite of those challenges, those lack of financial support, there are means to get if you really want to. So,
yeah, good point. And it sounds like you're becoming familiar with the assets in your community so that you can tap into them as you need them.
yes, I agree. And I'm amazed on how willing they are to help and reach out to the teachers and the students. I'm very grateful.
It's nice to hear that you are also a fellow ASAP.
Yes.
A co-fellow? Or what do you say?
Yes. Yeah, co-fellow. Yes.
It's an exciting program.
Yes.
So one of the things that we talk about on here is that in rural schools, a lot of times teachers wear different hats. They have a lot of different roles. I know you just told us that you're in charge of building a STEAM space. Can you tell us more about that and any of the other activities that you do at your school?
It's funny and wonderful that you say that, teachers wear different hats. Sometimes we're moms and educators, and then, we're nannies or everything. We're caregivers. But in Aguila, I also am aside from being the self-contained teacher, I'm the student council sponsor. So I'm also in charge of the student discipline. I'm a principal designee. And also, I mentor new teachers in our school. So I do that also. I'm in charge of mentorship. And so different activities. So also Christmas program, I also help out, and then field days. So, and I think in a rural community, in a rural setting, in a rural school, you're a lot. I always say there's a lot of and or to your name. And it's so difficult to say no. So we need help. So even if, that's not my expertise. Like, for example, with the STEM fellowship, I am an English major, as I've mentioned. And since I'm a self-contained teacher, I can't say, I'm an English major. I realized and I learned from the STEM fellowship, there's no such thing. That, if you're a teacher, you're an all subject major, because you have to learn for the children. So I'm all those hats. I learned that.
Such a good point. Any interest in going down the road of administration? Do you want to be a principal? Sounds like you're setting yourself up for a lot of good experience in that realm.
I enjoy learning. So that's one thing that I enjoy helping people, especially if I need to, or if they need me. So if there came a point that I am asked, I probably will, but I am more of also interested in curriculum and instruction. Love also. I enjoy writing curriculum, differentiated curriculum for different learners, for different kinds of learners. I am a big fan of differentiated instruction, and I've said language and culture, so I love to write. So I believe I'm more of on the writing side of administration, if I can say that. So
let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. So, Jeremy, you talked about how the community of your rural school district feels like home. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Ty and I talk to teachers about is the expression, the rural advantage. And certainly what you're talking about could definitely be considered part of that rural advantage. But what other opportunities does that imply to you, that term rural advantage?
I believe that it's also on what kind of students that we have. It's such fun to be part of their growth, to be able to see how their faces would light up when you give them experiences, and that really expose them to different kinds of learning. So they'll feel like, especially for me, I came from a different country, and they will ask you, like, how do you say this in Filipino, or how are the students in the Philippines? And I also taught in an international school in the Philippines. So even when I was in the Philippines, I had students who are Korean, Japanese, Americans, and British, and they would ask me. And that's, I think, a real advantage because they still have that awe and wonder. They have that awe and wonder, and they feel like, oh, I want to learn more. And that sense of bringing out of their comfort zone and actually making them be curious of the world outside of our rural community. It gives me hope also as an educator that, even in our small rural schools, we can have teachers, doctors, lawyers coming from our small community. And that makes me proud as an educator.
Well said.
Thank you.
That's a great answer. I always get a lot of joy out of the way people answer that question. From your teaching experience, I know you got this question. I can't wait to hear how you answered it. What is one of your proudest moments as a teacher? What's something that really made you say, this was the right profession for me?
So I had students who would come from different backgrounds. I think my proudest moment as a teacher and as a person actually would be when they come to you and you've forgotten the name of that kid already. I was like, because I've taught in 3 schools and now 4 here in Aguila. And you'd be like, okay, where did I teach this child again? And they would come to you and say, I was Mrs. Miss Covarrubias that time when I was not married yet. But that child would say, hey, I'm a lawyer now. And remember when you told me that even if am I wanting to always talk in class? Well, I can be a lawyer someday because I really talk back to you so greatly. And I would be like, really? I said, yes. And now I'm really a lawyer from a very big firm in the Philippines. And that would be my proudest moment when you have those children and come back to you and say, I did this because somebody believed in me. And I had one child who is already in France, in Paris, and she's already a designer for celebrities. And she told me that, you believed in me when I had really low grades and you told me to focus on what I am really good at. And I was good in drawing. And she's now designing dresses and different kinds of outfits for celebrities. And it makes me proud as a teacher that these kids, I was part of their growth. I was part of that. Hey, I can do this. I thought I couldn't, but I can because you said I can. So that's my aha moment. And I'm excited to have that also here in our rural school because these kids, we give them hope and then they strive and thrive and they become successful.
That's such a great thing when you know that you have had that kind of influence and impact. And you may not know until years later, which is the fun part of it too, when they come back.
Yes. And you forget like, oh, I said that or, oh, I did that. And it's amazing. And then that's really amazing.
I think it's one of the challenging parts, especially since you're an elementary teacher. Mm-hmm. If I'm a carpenter and I build a house, I get to drive past it next week and say, I did that. You have to wait years to get that kind of feedback and hope that your paths cross so you can get that kind of feedback.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeremy, I'm sure it's not a surprise that there have been issues around educating in rural communities. And some of them are longstanding and some of them are newer. But really, what is the challenge that keeps you up at night that rural teachers and rural schools face? And if you could solve it, how would you solve it?
So I think I have 2. So the first one would be on character education. So for me, though, it's very easy. It's very easy to build character and grit in the children in a rural school, especially if it's a small community, because most of the time, especially in Aguila, we sing the same song when it comes to character building. So everybody is concerned that the child would grow as a responsible individual. We have our character counts and, we have our pillars and we talk about character and we model it as much as possible as we can. And I think that's one thing that I am proud of that we're doing in Aguila, that we are building children of character because, well, for me personally as a teacher, I believe that if a child has the potential, but without character, then the potential will go to waste. But then if the heart is already molded, then learning would come and academics would follow. And the second one would be English language learning. So our student population are mostly English language learners. And we do our best to have the right curricula for our children, for the students. And in my classroom, I focus really on differentiated instruction and intentional classroom instruction that they really can benefit from, and aligning it with real world applications so that they will really see, oh, this is how I use the different parts of speech or science learning. And what I'm really grateful with learning and really because I finished a course on teaching of science. And I'm really amazed on how you can apply science and to the teaching of English language learners, and they can really enjoy. They really understand what it's for. So those are the two things.
Yeah, that's great. And I agree.
So what would you tell future educators that are thinking about teaching or about teaching in a rural setting? How would you attract them to our rural schools?
The same way that I was attracted. I think it's really if your passion is to reach out to kids, no matter what cultural background or no matter what social background that they have, then you are in for a fun experience as a teacher, as an educator, when you teach in a rural school, because these kids, the kids in a rural school are very passionate. When you are able to draw out of them that passion that they want to learn and they want to do great things in the future when they get older. So I think teaching in a rural school, it's a challenge also, but it's an exciting part of being a teacher, because you really have to find that how that way to be able to bring out in the children they're wanting to succeed in life, to give them hope to be better people of society in the future.
Jeremy, is there anything that you would like to share that we haven't talked about?
I think I would be speaking more to the rural children of Aguila and the rest of the U.S. And I think that if you are studying or in a rural school, then don't be discouraged. You continue, and there are great teachers out there that are willing to help you out. There are great rural school teachers who are willing to bring the best out of you, and so that you can be good citizens of this country. Yeah, that's it.
I love that.
That's great.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Really appreciate getting an opportunity to hear about your students and your community and your story of how you came to be a rural teacher.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity as well.
Thank you so much for listening to The Rural Scoop. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, or even leave us a comment. And be sure to follow on Twitter at Dr. Sadorf. That's Dr_SADORF, so that you never miss a new release. You can also check out previous episodes of The Scoop wherever you get your podcasts. Production support for The Rural Scoop is provided by Chattanooga Podcast Studios. Find out more at ChattanoogaPodcastStudios.com. See you next time for more great discussions about rural education.